Have you ever wanted to say something so badly, but something inside whispered, "Don't"? Not out of fear, but out of power. What if I told you that in 7 specific moments of your life, silence can do what no argument, no explanation, no revenge ever could? What if staying quiet wasn't backing down, but leveling up? The ancient Stoics knew a secret most people today ignore. That silence is not the absence of power, it is its highest form. They believe that when you refuse to react, when you choose stillness over drama, the world adjusts on its own. Karma steps in. And justice, real, lasting justice, happens without a single word. So, when should you stay silent? When should you let karma handle what your ego wants to control? Today, we explore 7 powerful moments where silence becomes your shield, your sword, and your ultimate source of strength. Because sometimes, saying nothing says everything. Let's begin. Before we begin, if you're drawn to Stoic wisdom and timeless insights that help you live with clarity and courage, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. It supports the work and brings more philosophy into more lives. Now, let's explore today's teaching. Part 1. When success makes you a target, the hidden power of staying quiet. Picture this. You've been working hard. You've stayed focused, stayed disciplined, and now it's paying off. You're getting recognized. Maybe it's a raise, a promotion, or just growing success in your personal goals. But then, it happens. Someone starts throwing shade. A sarcastic remark here. A snide joke there. They say things like, "Well, not everyone has the boss in their back pocket," or, "Some people just get all the luck." It feels like they're trying to get under your skin. And that's exactly what they're doing. Now here's the truth, their behavior has nothing to do with you. This kind of provocation often comes from jealousy. Your success is making them uncomfortable, not because you did something wrong, but because your progress highlights where they're stuck. Instead of looking inward, they project that discomfort onto you. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "If someone speaks evil of you and it's true, correct yourself. If it's a lie, laugh at it." What he meant is simple. If there's truth in the criticism, use it to grow. But if it's just noise, just bitterness wrapped in sarcasm, then don't even waste your breath on it. Think about it this way. Imagine you've just been promoted at work. You earned it. You put in late nights, took on difficult tasks, went the extra mile. But instead of congratulating you, a coworker mutters, "Well, I guess being friends with the manager has its perks." Now, your first instinct might be to fire back, to defend yourself, to shut them down. But that's exactly what they want, your reaction. The moment you argue, you feed the fire. You give life to their negativity. But if you stay calm, if you say nothing and just continue to show up, do your work, and live with integrity, something powerful happens. Over time, your actions become undeniable. Your character speaks louder than their gossip. And eventually, their own bitterness isolates them. People start to notice the difference between your consistency and their complaints. Here's the Stoic lesson. People who are secure in themselves don't lash out at others. Insecurity wears a mask, and that mask often looks like sarcasm, criticism, or subtle jabs. When someone tries to pull you down, it's usually because they feel beneath you. The wise thing to do? Don't get pulled into their storm. Stay grounded. Stay silent. Let karma, and time, handle the rest. Sometimes, the strongest answer isn't a comeback. It's calmness. Let them speak from their frustration. Let your silence speak from your strength. Part 2. When trust turns to betrayal, what silence can teach them without a word. Betrayal cuts deeper than almost anything else. But what makes it truly painful is not the act itself, it's who did it. It wasn't a stranger. It was someone you let into your world. Someone you trusted. Someone who knew your heart. Maybe it was a friend who shared your secrets with others. Maybe it was a partner who broke the bond you thought was unbreakable. Or maybe it was someone who smiled to your face, while quietly undermining you behind your back. And your first instinct? To confront them. To demand an explanation. To expose their lies. To make sure everyone knows what they did. But let's pause here, and turn to Stoic wisdom. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence." In other words, not every moment deserves your voice. Some moments demand your silence, not out of weakness, but out of strength and wisdom. Let's break this down with a real-life example. You share your goals, your plans, maybe even your business idea with someone close to you, a friend, a colleague, someone you thought was on your side. And then, weeks later, you hear they've used that information to get ahead, or even to compete against you. You feel exposed. Angry. Hurt. It's natural to want justice. But here's the truth the Stoics understood: justice doesn't always require noise. Sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. Imagine this. You don't yell. You don't post about it. You don't run around trying to get others on your side. You simply stop. You walk away. You create distance, and let life do the talking. Because here's the thing. People who betray once, usually betray again. It's a pattern, not a one-time slip. And eventually, everyone else sees it too. You don't have to destroy them. They do that all by themselves, with their own choices. This is the Stoic way. Silence doesn't mean approval. It means restraint. And that restraint protects your peace, your dignity, and your energy. Karma? It's real. Not in some mystical, magical way, but in a very human, practical one. People reveal themselves over time. And those who hurt others, eventually feel the weight of their actions. So, the next time someone close to you betrays your trust, ask yourself, is confronting them worth sacrificing your peace? Or is walking away, and letting silence speak louder, your real act of power? Sometimes the silence you choose becomes the loudest message they'll ever hear. Let them live with their choices. Let karma keep the score. Part 3. Falsely blamed? Why the strongest defense is no defense at all. There's something uniquely frustrating about being misunderstood. Especially when someone accuses you of something you didn't do. It could be a false rumor. A misinterpreted action. Or just someone assuming the worst about you. Your gut reaction? To jump in. To defend yourself. To set the record straight at all costs. You want to scream, "That's not true." You want to prove your innocence, to clear your name, to be seen for who you really are. But here's where Stoic wisdom steps in, with a completely different way of seeing the situation. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "If anyone can show me that I'm making a mistake, or looking at things the wrong way, I'll gladly change. I seek the truth, not to defend my ego." What he's saying is powerful. You don't need to prove yourself to everyone. You don't need to fight every false accusation. What truly matters is whether you know the truth, and whether you're willing to correct yourself if you've genuinely done wrong. Let's bring this down to a real-life example. You're at work, and a project goes sideways. Suddenly, someone points the finger at you. Whispers start. People gossip. Colleagues begin treating you differently. But you know the truth. You did your part. Your direct supervisor knows it too. Still, people talk. Now you could try to argue your case to everyone, email people, defend yourself in every conversation, try to fix every single misunderstanding. But here's the problem. When you react out of ego, it often makes you look defensive, even if you're innocent. But when you stay calm, stay focused, and continue doing what you know is right, something else happens. Over time, the facts surface. The truth comes out. And those who jump to conclusions start to see the difference between rumor and reality. Even more importantly, people begin to respect your self-control. They may not say it out loud, but they notice. Here's the Stoic lesson. You're not responsible for managing how everyone sees you. You're responsible for your actions, your values, and your peace of mind. Truth doesn't need to be forced down people's throats. It unfolds naturally, like sunlight cutting through fog. Your silence in the face of false judgment doesn't make you weak, it shows you trust something stronger than gossip, your character. And character always outlasts chaos. Let others rush to defend themselves. You, walk with patience and integrity. Because the truth always finds its way to the surface, even if it takes time. Part 4. The argument that will never end, and why you should walk away. Have you ever been in a conversation that quickly turned into a battlefield? You start off trying to explain something calmly. But the more you talk, the more the other person twists your words, interrupts you, raises their voice. And you realize, this isn't a real conversation anymore. It's a trap. You could say all the right things, present facts, speak with clarity, but it won't matter. Because they're not here to understand. They're here to win. And the moment you engage at that level, you've already lost your peace. This is exactly what the Stoic philosopher Epictetus was warning us about when he said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That's not just about listening to others, it's also about knowing when not to waste your voice. Let me paint you a picture. You post something online, a thoughtful idea, a personal insight. Someone replies aggressively, twisting your words and accusing you of something you never meant. You write a response. They twist that too. Now you're in a loop, defending, explaining, correcting, and it's exhausting. But what if, just what if, you stopped? You don't respond. You turn off the notifications. You go back to your work, your life, your goals. And just like that, you're free. Here's the Stoic insight. Not every battle is worth fighting. Some people don't want truth, they want drama. And when you engage with them, you're not fixing the situation, you're just feeding the fire. Marcus Aurelius, another great Stoic, reminds us. The best revenge is to be unlike the one who wronged you. You don't need to match their energy. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do, is walk away. You're not avoiding conflict, you're choosing peace over chaos. And in doing that, you keep your mind clear, your heart steady, and your energy focused on things that actually matter. Remember, every time you argue with someone who isn't willing to grow, you trade your calm for their chaos. And that's a bad deal. So, when words become weapons and reason has left the room, choose silence. Let others wrestle with their need to be right. You? Stay grounded in your peace. Because some victories aren't won by fighting, they're won by not entering the ring at all. Part 5. Public shame, private power, when grace destroys insults. There's a special kind of sting that comes from being called out or mocked in front of others. Maybe it happens during a meeting at work. Maybe it's a family gathering. Or maybe it's online, where the whole world can watch. Someone tries to embarrass you. They make a sarcastic comment. They twist something you said. They want to make you look small, so they can feel big. It's not just about you. It's about the audience. Because public humiliation is never just between two people, it's a performance. And every performance needs someone to watch, and someone to react. Now, here's where Stoic philosophy gives you a powerful edge. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. What does that mean? It means you have the power to decide whether their words touch you at all. You don't have to agree with their insult. You don't have to believe their version of the story. You don't have to give them your energy. Let's imagine this. You're in a work meeting. You've just presented an idea you've been working on for weeks. Then a coworker chimes in with a smirk and says, "Wow, I didn't realize we were lowering our standards today." The room goes quiet. Eyes turn to you. Everyone is waiting to see what you'll do. You could lash out. Clap back. Match their sarcasm with some of your own. But instead, you stay calm. You don't react emotionally. You answer the next question professionally. You stick to the facts. You finish your part and move on. Later, people will remember two things. That person tried to make you look bad, and you didn't take the bait. And that says more about your strength than any comeback ever could. Here's the Stoic truth. When you stay silent in the face of public humiliation, you're not backing down. You're taking control. You're saying, "You don't get to define me. Your behavior reflects you, not me." And what happens next? People begin to notice who kept their cool. Who acted with maturity. Who carried themselves with dignity, even when they had every reason to snap. Silence becomes your power. It shows you're not here to perform for the crowd. You're here to live by your values, calm, focused, and unshaken. So when someone tries to drag you into their drama in front of an audience, refuse the role. Let them act out. Let their voice rise. Let the silence that follows say everything you don't need to. Because real strength isn't loud, it's steady. Part 6. Why the loudest person in the room is often the weakest. We live in a world where everyone wants to be seen. People share their goals online, post updates every day, and talk constantly about what they plan to do. But here's a question. What if you stopped explaining yourself, and just did the work? What if you let your results do the talking? That's what the Stoic philosopher Seneca meant when he said, "What you do should speak so loudly that no one hears what you say." Think about that. Let your actions shout, while your mouth stays quiet. Imagine this. Everyone around you is announcing their goals. "I'm going to start a business. I'm writing a book. I'm changing my life this year." They post about it. They talk about it. They want people to know. Meanwhile, you say nothing. You just get to work. Early mornings. Late nights. Focus. Progress. No spotlight, just discipline. Fast forward a year. The talkers? Still talking. You've built something. You've grown. You've changed. And now, you don't need to prove anything, because your life already does. That's the Stoic way. You see, silence doesn't mean you're doing nothing. Silence often means you're doing more than anyone realizes. It's focus. It's discipline. It's power with direction. The Stoics believe that true excellence needs no announcement. Like a tree growing roots underground before it ever breaks the surface. Like a master craftsman working in the shadows before revealing a masterpiece. Your silence isn't weakness. It's a strategy. It protects your energy. It shields your progress from distractions and ego. Here's the Stoic insight. When your actions are consistent, and your results are real, you don't need applause. Let others speak to be noticed. You move in silence to be remembered. So when the world gets noisy, when everyone's performing, posting, and bragging, take a different route. Don't announce the climb. Just reach the peak. Because the loudest voice rarely wins the race. But the quietest worker? They're usually the one everyone ends up watching in the end. Part 7. The quiet goodbye that hurts them more than anger ever could. Letting go is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It can feel like giving up. It can feel like losing. Especially when you've poured your heart into something. A relationship, a friendship, a dream. Only to realize it's no longer good for you. But sometimes, the strongest move isn't fighting to fix it. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Quietly. Calmly. Without fanfare. Not because you're weak. But because you've outgrown the noise. You've outgrown the chaos. The back and forth. The constant need to explain, to defend, to be heard. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." In other words, you don't need to match the behavior that hurt you. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to prove a point. You just need to live better. And that's enough. Let's say you've been in a toxic relationship. Someone lied, manipulated, made you question your worth. You've finally had enough. You're ready to move on. You could post about it. You could vent, tell your side of the story, try to make sure everyone knows what they did to you. But what if you didn't? What if, instead, you packed your emotional bags and simply left? No drama. No final speech. Just distance, healing, and a quiet return to yourself. That's real power. Because here's what Stoicism teaches us. Closure doesn't always come from confrontation. It doesn't come from getting the last word. It comes from clarity. From realizing that your peace matters more than their opinion. Your silence becomes your reset. Your clean break. Your way of saying, "I'm done feeding energy into something that only drains me." And here's the beautiful part, karma has perfect memory. You don't have to chase justice. You don't have to make them see what they lost. Life will handle that part for you. What you need to focus on is moving forward. Growing. Healing. Building something better with the space you've now freed up. Stoic insight. When you let go in silence, you're not avoiding the truth. You're embracing it. You're saying, "I don't need to prove anything. I just need to protect my peace." Not every ending needs fireworks. Not every goodbye needs to be loud. Some of the most powerful chapters in your life will close with a whisper. And open with a quiet sunrise. Because real strength doesn't scream. It simply moves on.